opportunity to play early on, if they can cut it, right? So as freshmen, whereas, when I was at La Cueva, and I know certain schools have well, we're not going to take freshmen. It's a rite of passage. If they're good enough, they're going to play for me. Whether they're 14. I mean, I have an 8th grader on the team this year, and I never have 8th graders. I think I brought an 8th grader up, Santi Torres.
Yeah.
He didn't, he played as an 8th grader, but it was because we had a bunch of injuries. I brought him up and he played, but rarely ever do we have an 8th grader, even at our program, on the boys' side, play early. And he fit a need for us. Will did. He's a solid big kid. He plays he fits a role basically. That's why he's on the team. And at this point, as an 8th grader, because people are going, wow, he must be like the next Messi. No, he's not that. He's good at. He's a big body. He's physically mature at that time. But giving them an opportunity early on, if they're good enough, they're good enough. And we have 3 freshmen on the team this year. 9, like you say, that's probably the most I've ever had. That group that I had in 2019, and that was a special group. And there were actually more of them that were on the JV program at that time, because that was about 16 kids, soccer kids in that class. And then last year, 8 of them graduated. So, but it's, yeah, if you look at professional soccer, right? Jude Bellingham was playing as a 17, 18-year-old, right, for the first team. There's not age restrictions over there, right? So it's like, if you can do it, if you're physically mature enough to do it, and you're good enough to do it, they're going to play. When I was coaching at La Cueva, we had a kid that was, I went to Coach Waters. I said, I think we need him on the varsity, but he was good enough to play on the varsity, but it didn't happen because that's not how things kind of worked, so he didn't play. And I think it's changed probably, over the years, but that was kind of the thought process back then. And there's probably some teams that do that. I know that Sean over at Cleveland, I think he had an 8th grader that was going to play for him this year. And that's a big school, right? And so bottom line is, if they're good enough and they can do it, we're going to take them. If they're going to help our program, right? So, yeah. And when you have a kid for 4 years, you can kind of see the development. It was a shame that I didn't get a chance to have Miles and Dane for the 4 years, because I just had them 2 years and they played with United for those last 2 years. And our team was good last year and the year before. I think we would have been sensational with those 2 guys. And I know that teams are losing guys to the United Academy left and right now. So, but.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that is a kind of good opportunity to talk about the elephant that has left the room, Finn Saunders, right? Has that changed your philosophy for this season in particular about how do I replace him? Has that, how have you reflected on that, I guess, for this?
Yeah, you can't really replace a guy like Finn. He's one of those, that doesn't come around too often, and the role that he had for us, because he really did transform as a player, because early on he had some injury issues his freshman and sophomore year. Then junior year took off. We started using him, in an attacking role, because a lot of these guys, they play different roles for their club team, right? So they come for me and come onto my team, and I want you to score goals for my team. Our style is, last year having Finn and Leighton, they complement each other well. Finn was the guy that was good with the ball, technically good with the ball. He read the game. He was in good position. And then Leighton would do a lot of the dirty work. He'd make a lot of runs, and he would open up Finn. So I don't have that this year. And then when we did get the ball down there, Finn was a lethal finisher. So I don't really have anyone that's probably in that caliber. I'm hoping this kid Ryan Williams, is a sophomore, can turn into that type of player eventually. And become a goal scorer and be a creator. But yeah, Finn's a big loss. But Leighton, I told Leighton he's got to score. He scored, I think, 18 last year, 20 his sophomore year, so he can score. I said 25 is the number that we're looking at from him. So, 44. Those 44 goals, because what Finn scored. Leighton, you're gonna have to get 10 more than you had last year. This kid's gonna have to get a few. You make it up in bits, right? So. We're not going to be as good offensively as we were last year. That's expected, but I think we can be as successful as last year's team. we went, I think 19-4. I think we went last year. Can we win 19 games this year? I think we could. We got the tough part of our schedule in the first month, so we'll see how we fare after, like September 20th, and see where we are.
Yeah, and you kind of said that you're trying to switch Leighton kind of from like that number 10 kind of role, right, to a number 9. What are those kind of specific things that you do to switch? You even said like changing the roles from like that club position to like what you need it for them for. What are some of the things that you kind of do to help those players adjust? I mean, do you take them to the side and just say, hey, this is the role I want you to fill? At this time, like I know Finn's gone.
Yeah, so I mean, I see my players pretty much every day. So we have dialogue. We've had dialogue in the spring, because when we get together for our spring, we do a soccer activity in the spring. We play futsal. I'm already putting those ideas in. This is, and in the summertime, I send them videos. We've changed our formation. We want to play a 4-2-3-1. So I sent them all this stuff on the 4-2-3-1. The guys, whether they look at it or not, I don't know, right? But, and Leighton, you're kind of in this formation. You're our Holland that plays for Man City, right? You're our Lewandowski that played for Bayern Munich, and that's the role you're going to play. It's going to be a different role last year because you don't have Finn up there to combine with you. So you start talking to him that this is how we want you to play slightly differently. But Leighton's going to play. He plays 150 miles an hour. He's going to come and get the ball. He's going to work his butt off. He'll high press teams, and I'm not sure that we're suited to high press. But. So we haven't really gone over that tactic yet, but so yeah, just talking to him. Caleb's real good. I'll send Caleb, and probably tomorrow when we'll do stuff. I'll work with the back line in the midfield a little bit, and we'll work on just possessing the ball and maybe our shape a little bit. And Caleb, I'm going to have him work with the forwards and work on combinations, the attacking 3 or 4 guys. So it's nice, to be able to do that. I'd have an extra coach do that. When I'm by myself, sometimes it's real difficult, and then you neglect certain areas that need to be addressed, right? So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. A couple more questions.
Yeah, no worries.
Kind of listening to you as a coach, do you try to adjust the system to fit the squad, or do you train the players to fit your system, somewhere in between?
Yeah, you kind of got to see what you have and to see if you can play a certain. I mean, you can train players to play a certain system, but I think you got to see what you have overall as far as, can we play a 4-3-3? Can we be a possessing style of team? If I don't have those types of players, I'm not going to try to force that on them, right? I mean, I've traditionally played 3-5-2 over the years. I always think 3, just based on high school soccer. 3 is enough in the back unless you're playing a team that's playing, with 3 forwards. And so to answer your question, see what you have, evaluate what you have coming in, and I know, November 11th after our last game, I know what kind of players I'm going to have and the guys coming up. Can we do this? So that's actually a question that you asked me. That was a question at one of the I think either the B or the A the coaching license that they ask us, when we do orals. Yeah. And that was the correct answer they wanted to hear is the players are going to form what type of system you have. So
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.